Welcome to another great talk here on the Open Hardware booth. Next up in line is Keith from Crypto Quantique. Some really cool topic about physical unclonable functions. Really important to have nowadays. Security is really a trending topic. And here in the Open Hardware, the open source course, security is also a big topic. We are glad to have you here, Keith. Please, the show is yours.
Thank you, Florian. Welcome. My name is Keith Bramley. I'm a field applications engineer from Crypto Quantique. We're an IoT security company. We're based in London. We're approximately 7 years old. We have a team of PhD chip designers, crypto experts, and IT designers. We have two products. We have a QDID, which is the Physically Unclonable Function, and we have this software cloud platform called QuarkLink that helps you provide chip-to-cloud security. We're going to share some experience about PUFs that we've had over the last 7 years or so, talking to customers, and obviously we're very excited about PUFs as we obviously have our own solution. But we're going to talk about some of the challenges that we see, or customers see, and how we can help them. So let's recap on what is a PUF. So best source, of course, is our good friend Wikipedia, which defines a PUF as a physical object that with a given set of input conditions provides a defined physical digital fingerprint as a response repeatably. In about 2001, 2002, there was an academic paper published that says there is some device variability in every component when it's manufactured, and you can use that and harness that by various means to give you your source of randomness that you can then use on your devices. And that has implications in security. You can use that as a seed for your products. It's a really cool idea. And since 2001, 2002, it's all started to grow and be developed. If you look at the literature that was published past 15, 20 years or so, they've been various definitions of PUFs and what they are. The first category would be a strong PUF, and that's where started. Strong is obviously better. Not always the case. And the idea with a strong PUF is you could have an unlimited number of challenge response. So you could give it a challenge and you'd get a response, same response every time, and you could use that to generate your keys or your seeds. The other model is a weak PUF, where you have a subset of bits and you generate some random keys from that, and you can use the whole string or divide it up and use a subsection of that random string to generate different keys. So how do you PUF? How do you get your string? You can use delay-based technologies, memory-based using SRAM, OTP. Also, we classed OTP and flash in the same there. You can rupture some cells and use that to give you your source. Or in our own QDID, we measure leakage currents on an array of transistors to get that source there. What would you use a PUF for? So there are many uses: simple serial number, anti-counterfeiting, tampering, key wrapping, and then the secure root of trust. And that's where we see the most value, and that's where everybody is kind of pushing their PUF solution to have a root of trust. So these different applications have different security requirements. You see serial number, less secure. You just need maybe a MAC address or a serial number. It just needs to be a repeatable random string. Doesn't matter if it's going to be attacked. It's got very little value. People aren't going to be trying to hack your serial number. Anti-counterfeiting gets more secure, key wrapping, root of trust. There's a lot of things you need to consider if you're going to use it as a root of trust. So one of the challenges that we've found with the customers are facing when you're turning your PUF into a secure root of trust is the lack of defined testing. There's no real defined process to get you to that root of trust. There's ISO standards that kind of gives you some guidance. It says you need high entropy, That's a good thing, so you're not repeating numbers, so you've got a unique source. You can test for randomness. There are defined randomness tests out there. Go and use them. They're not the same random number generator tests. For a random number generator, you have a long string and lots of random numbers input to it, and you're testing that it's random all the time. With a PUF, you have a smaller random number that's repeatable. How do you do the tests? Are you testing raw data, or has it been processed? Has it been corrected? If you've got an SRAM-based PUF and you're using some RAM cells, they're kind of random, but if you've got other devices on your wafer, they're also the same kind of random. So you've got less entropy there, so you have to fix it with some helper data. So yeah, your tests, are you raw or are you processed? That helps. And are you testing across process? Are you testing corners, wafers, time, temperature, high tool testing, things like that? Side channel attacks. Is your PUF vulnerable to side channels? Reliable. You then get a customer hooked. You're putting it down on your board. Have you got built-in self-test? Do you know that implementation is good? Is it ready? Is it the right thing? Do you get built-in self-test? How do you get that built-in self-test? Are you leaking information on the production line? There's things you've got to do to make it secure and not leak this source, because if your seed gets out, then it's no longer secure. Another thing we find customers say, oh, we'll inject keys and we'll blow some e-fuses to lock the bus down. Then no one can get access to it anymore. Well, you can get some rogue software on there that can read the keys. But there's other things. You can't then patch and generate new keys. If your key is compromised, how do you generate new keys? That device is now useless. It's compromised, you can't trust it anymore. So with a PUF, you can generate new keys. You can have different keys for device identity, for attestation, for onboarding, for firmware update. And more importantly, if you've got a PUF, you're generating the keys on the device, so you're not injecting them. So there's not the human element. You haven't got someone that knows your key and then injects it and, oh, I know that key. To quote Henry Ford, talking to customers and chip designers, they would rather have faster horses than try and solve the problem with a nicer car and a secure PUF. We measure quantum tunneling current on our transistors, and this gives us a very high entropy source, and it's random based on the quantum effect. So it's very hard to forge and to guess. You can't use a computer to guess this. It's based on the physical properties of a chip. And these random seeds are then fixed at silicon during the manufacturing process. And they're generated. So talking about how do you make it secure, the QDID, the PUF, is a small part of the process. You've got other bits around it. You've got the key generation, anti-tamper, secure CPU, secure debug. You've got all these parts. If you don't want access to the PUF on the main data bus, you've got to keep it secure behind a firewall. In a trusted MCU, we've got a separate processor that controls that, and you never leak the key. Only a wrapped key comes out of here. You never see the seed. How we do it with our QDID device, we run a small application on the device at production. We generate the seed, we wrap that in a key generator, symmetric keys, and then the device ID is shared with that, and that device ID is then public information. It's absolutely fine. It's not a secret. You can use that to onboard and attest your device. We don't need any key injection. Seeds are created during manufacture and they're fixed with some helper data. The private key is never exposed. It never leaves the chip unless you've got some rogue software that goes in behind the firewall, but it's protected from there. It's not stored, so we generate it when we need it. So it's not in NVRAM or it's not in flash device somewhere that someone can read it and reverse engineer it. We can have multiple uncorrelated keys, so you can use different keys for different parts of the process, for firmware, sign-in, for onboarding to cloud services, things like that. And because of how QDID is architectured, we're immune to the classic side channel attacks, glitches, photon emissions. You can't decapsulate the wafer and look at it because all you'll see is an array of transistors. You're not going to be able to see the tiny differences that are giving you different currents. So it's tamper-proof. It's quantum computer safe. With current quantum computers, you can't calculate that kind of variability in the process because even neighbouring devices on the wafer will give you different seeds. QDID partners with our cloud product, the SaaS platform called QuarkLink, and we use that with that identity from the QDID or other routes of trust to onboard devices securely to the cloud. QuarkLink has device management, we do provisioning, onboarding, secure firmware delivery, things like that. Connections to devices. We've got a number of patents around our technology. So yeah, Crypto Quantique, with turnkey chip to cloud IoT solution. Thank you.